The sun on planet Urex was red and angry. It burned the skin and dried the air. People called it the punishment sun. In the middle of a dusty open field stood Eli, a human worker. He wore old clothes and had calloused hands. Around him were other workers, humans and aliens, all silent, all watching. In front of the crowd, a metal pole had been placed. Beside it stood two alien guards, tall and cold. Between them stood a girl. She was small, with purple-gray skin and bright silver eyes. Her name was Vereen. She looked too young, too soft to be standing there. Her hands were tied. Her head was low. She had made one mistake. Earlier that morning, she had touched a noble's golden medallion by accident. In her world, that was a crime, even if it was a mistake. The punishment was 10 lashes with the electric whip. A voice called from the crowd, cold and cruel. "Begin!" The guard raised the whip. The metal glowed blue. It crackled like lightning. The crowd took a breath. Suddenly, someone stepped forward. Eli. He walked past the guards and stood between Vereen and the whip. "She's just a child," he said. His voice was calm but firm. "She didn't mean to touch it." The noble who had ordered the punishment stood up from his seat. His face was twisted in anger. "A human dares interrupt justice? She doesn't deserve this," Eli said. "Then take her place," the noble sneered. 10 lashes now. Everyone went silent. Vereen looked up slowly. Her eyes locked with Eli's. She shook her head, lips pressed tight. But Eli didn't move. He nodded once. "I accept." They tied his hands to the pole. The guards hesitated. "Do it," the noble growled. Crack! The whip hit Eli's back. His body jerked. He didn't scream. The second lash came harder. His knees buckled, but he stayed standing. The third. The fourth. By the fifth, blood ran down his back. His shirt was torn open. The crowd started to whisper. Why would a human do this? Is he mad? Vereen's fists tightened. She said nothing, but her eyes burned with something strange. Anger and pain mixed together. Crack! The sixth lash tore through his skin. Eli's breath was short now. His head leaned forward, but he stayed silent. The seventh and eighth lashes made him fall to his knees. But he didn't beg. He didn't cry. By the ninth, his eyes were half closed. His body trembled. Still, he said nothing. The 10th lash hit him with all its power, and Eli fell unconscious. Vereen broke free from the guards when no one expected it. She ran to him, fell beside him. Her tiny hands tried to lift his heavy body. He's not breathing, someone shouted. No, he is, another said. Barely. The noble turned away in disgust. Foolish human, he spat. But from the shadows of the crowd, 3 tall figures had been watching. They wore long robes and armor underneath. Their eyes glowed faintly. They saw everything. Later that night, Eli lay on a rough bed in the workers' barracks. His back was covered with bandages. He was still unconscious. Vereen sat beside him. She hadn't left his side. She hadn't spoken a single word. Other workers whispered in the corners. Why did he do it? No human would do that for an alien girl. Maybe he's different. Vereen looked at Eli's face. Her hand gently touched the back of his palm. For the first time, her lips moved. Soft words escaped. You didn't have to save me. She blinked fast, holding back tears. Outside the barracks, the 3 figures from earlier stood in silence. One of them clenched his jaw. That human took our sister's punishment, the eldest said. The second brother growled. If father finds out, he'll demand blood, the third one whispered. Maybe. We owe him now. They looked at each other and then they knelt, not for prayer but for something else, not for gods, but for a human, covered in blood. Morning light crept into the sky, soft and golden, but the camp remained quiet. Workers moved slowly. No one laughed. No one spoke loudly. Inside the small medical tent, Eli lay unconscious. His back was bandaged and his face pale. He hadn't moved all night. Vereen sat beside him. She hadn't slept. Her purple-gray hands were folded tightly in her lap. Her silver eyes didn't blink much. She just watched him like she was guarding something precious. Suddenly, heavy footsteps echoed across the camp. 3 massive alien warriors entered through the outer gates. Their armor gleamed under the rising sun. Their bodies were tall and muscular with glowing tattoos across their necks. They didn't speak. Every worker stopped what they were doing. One whispered, Are those the Rexorian princes? The three warriors marched past the guards like they didn't exist. One of them, taller than the others, had a scar down his face. His name was Valak. He pushed open the tent flap and stepped inside. He saw Eli first. His jaw tightened. Then he saw Vereen. She stood slowly, unsure what to say. Valak looked at her, then back at the human. "What is this?" he asked. "He took the lashes meant for me," Vereen said quietly. Her voice was soft, but it shook the air. It was the first time anyone in the camp had heard her speak. Valak blinked as if her voice surprised him. The second brother stepped forward, eyes wide. "Why would a human take punishment for a nobleborn?" Vereen lowered her head. "I don't know. He just did." Valak walked to Eli's side. His eyes scanned the bandages, the dried blood, the torn skin. "This is our debt now," he said slowly. The third brother whispered, "But father won't like this." Valak stood straight. Let him not like it. This human did what even we didn't. He protected her. He turned to the others. "Kneel." Without hesitation, all three Raxorian princes bent one knee in front of Eli's broken body. The camp gasped. A human, being honored by royal blood. Across the camp, the noble who ordered the whipping, Lord Quorn, watched through a glass window. His face twisted with rage. "That worm," he hissed. "He dares embarrass me by surviving? Now the royal sons kneel before him?" He slammed his fist on the table. A servant stepped forward nervously. "My lord, should we—" "Silence!" Quorn growled. "Prepare the assassins. This human must not see another sunrise." That night the camp was quiet again. Eli's breath had grown stronger. He still slept, but color was returning to his face. Vereen washed his forehead gently with a wet cloth. She looked peaceful, but her ears twitched. She sensed something. Outside the tent, a shadow moved. A figure stepped in silently, dressed in black, eyes cold, a dagger in hand. Silent like death, he raised the blade. But before it could fall, snap! The assassin flew backward, slammed against the wall by an invisible force. The brothers rushed in, weapons drawn, but they stopped when they saw the glowing light around Vereen. She stood tall now, silver energy rising from her palms. Her silver eyes were glowing, bright like fire. The assassin gasped. "That power, you're awakened." Valak stared at his sister. "Vereen, how long have you hidden this?" She looked at her hands, still shaking. "It wasn't awake before, not until he bled for me." The second brother whispered. "The prophecy said her power would awaken only when someone risked their life without asking anything in return." Valak looked at Eli. This human fulfilled the prophecy. Later, the three brothers stood outside the tent. Valak spoke first. "The nobles will fear this. They'll try to stop her awakening. Should we take her to the capital?" the youngest asked. "She won't leave him behind," Valak replied. "He's not just some worker now." The youngest looked back at the tent. "Then what happens next?" Valak stared at the stars. "We protect them both, even if it means going against the crown." The desert winds howled outside the walls of Lord Quorn's estate. Inside, the noble paced like a wild beast. His long robe swished angrily with every step. A small screen on the wall replayed the scene again. Eli stepping in front of the whip, the human collapsing under 10 lashes. And then the royal princes kneeling before him. Quorn smashed the screen with his fist. "That human humiliated me in front of the galaxy," he growled. "I won't let this insult go unpunished." A hooded figure stepped out of the shadows. His voice was cold. "My lord, the first assassin failed. The girl awakened her power." Quorn's eyes narrowed. "Then send someone stronger," the figure nodded. "Tonight, the shadow twin will strike." Back at the workers' camp, Eli was finally awake. His body still ached, but he could sit up now. Vereen handed him a bowl of warm broth. "You're lucky," she said softly. "Most don't survive even 5 lashes." Eli gave a weak smile. "Guess I'm just stubborn." Valak entered the tent. He nodded at Eli. "You're awake. Good. We owe you." "You don't owe me anything," Eli replied. "She didn't deserve that punishment. That's all." Valak looked at Vereen. "You have changed, sister." Vereen didn't answer. She just touched the glowing marks on her wrist, the signs of awakening. Her power had returned, and now others were watching. That night the stars seemed darker. Two shadows slipped past the guards outside the camp. They didn't speak. They didn't breathe loud. They were the shadow twins, silent killers trained since birth. One moved toward Eli's tent. The other moved toward the energy source, Vereen. Inside the tent, Eli felt something cold brush the air. He sat up just as a black blade came down. Clang! The blade struck metal. Valak had blocked it just in time. The assassin spun back and vanished into the shadows. From the other side of the camp, a scream echoed. Vereen had been attacked, but this time, she was ready. Silver energy blasted from her hand, throwing the second assassin into the air like a broken doll. The ground cracked where he landed. Vereen stood tall, her eyes glowing like stars. The workers watching began to whisper, "She has power. She's not just a girl." Eli rushed to her side, limping. "You okay?" She nodded. "They came for you." Again. The next morning, a royal ship landed outside the camp. Tall alien nobles stepped out, dressed in white and gold. One of them carried a scroll. "I bring a message from the High Council," he announced. "By royal order, the human Eli must be brought to the capital for questioning." Valak stepped in front of the noble. "He's under my protection now," the noble sneered. "Then your protection is now defiance against the crown." Vereen walked forward. "If you take him, you take me too." The noble's eyes widened. "You dare speak in the voice of power? You are not ready." "I am now," she said. Behind her, the workers stood up. Slowly, silently, one by one. 100 voices. 100 backs straightened. They didn't have weapons, but they had chosen a side. That night, Eli sat outside the tent watching the stars. Valak joined him. "You're changing everything," Valak said. "They're afraid." "I didn't come here to be a hero," Eli said. Valak looked up. "Sometimes heroes don't choose. They just bleed, and others follow." Eli didn't answer. He stared at the scars on his hands. "I don't want war," he whispered. Valak nodded. "Then be ready, because war wants you." From the shadows, Vereen watched them both. She wasn't smiling, she was planning because something inside her had awakened. Not just power, but purpose, and someone would pay for what they did to the one who saved her. The camp had changed. People no longer looked at Vereen as just a quiet alien girl. They had seen her stop an assassin with a single wave of her hand. They had seen her silver eyes glow like burning moons, and they had seen how she stood between death and the human who once stood for her. Whispers spread fast. She has power. She's a weapon. Why does she care about a human? Inside the tent, Eli sat up in his bed, eating soup slowly. His back still hurt, but his strength had returned. He looked at Vereen sitting quietly across from him, staring at the dirt. "You've been quiet," he said. She nodded. "I've always been quiet. But now you have a voice," he smiled. She looked at him. "They're afraid of me." Eli leaned forward. "They should be afraid of the ones who hurt you, not you." Outside the tent, Valak stood with his younger brothers. They argued in low voices. "She shouldn't stay here," the youngest said. "She's awakened. The elders will want her in the capital." Valak shook his head. "She won't leave him behind." The second brother grunted. "Then take him too." "But the council won't like that." Valak narrowed his eyes. "Let them not like it. The council let her be punished. The human bled for her. He has more honor than most nobles." A shadow moved behind them. Vereen stepped forward, her voice calm. "I'll go to the capital," she said. All three brothers turned to her. "Surprised, but only if Eli comes with me," she added. 2 days later, a royal shuttle arrived. Its walls gleamed like fire. Guards in silver armor stepped out, followed by a tall woman with white robes and a hard expression. She was High Priestess Sila, one of the council leaders. Her voice echoed through the camp. "Vereen of House Ralthari, you have awakened your power. You are summoned to the Crystal Hall." Valak stepped forward. "She agrees. But the human comes too." Sila's lips thinned. "Impossible. He is of dirt blood." Vereen's voice rang out. "Then I refuse." Gasps filled the air. Sila stepped closer, her eyes cold. "You would reject the council?" Vereen's eyes glowed softly. "I already saw what silence brings. I won't go without him." Sila stared at her for a long time. Then she turned away. "Fine, let him come. But he walks in chains." The journey to the capital was quiet. Eli sat alone in a cold chamber on the ship. His wrists were bound, but he wasn't angry. He knew politics. Power didn't like being challenged by truth. When they arrived, the capital shone like glass. Tall towers reached into the clouds. Everything was clean, perfect, and controlled. Vereen walked beside the guards without speaking. But inside, her heart burned. Her power stirred beneath her skin. She didn't like this place. They were taken to the Crystal Hall, a massive chamber made of glowing stones and floating lights. The council sat in a high circle above them, 12 alien elders' eyes glowing with judgment. The high priestess stepped forward. "We accept your awakening, Vereen, but your attachment to this human is dangerous. He saved me," she said. "Not just my life, but something inside me. Before he stepped in, I was nobody. Just another forgotten noble." One elder spoke, voice deep. "But he is a human." Vereen looked up. "And you elders watched while I was whipped. He bled." You blinked. The hall went silent. Another elder growled. "This one human has disturbed the balance. He must not influence the chosen blood." Suddenly Eli spoke from his chains. "I never wanted influence," he said. "I just didn't want a girl punished for being kind." The council stirred. Whispers moved like wind. The eldest of them raised a hand. "Then let the human prove his worth. Trial by memory flame. If he survives, he stays. If not, the bond is broken," Velok shouted. "That trial is banned." "Not anymore," the elder said. Later, in a dark chamber, Eli stood alone before a glowing flame. It pulsed like a living heart. Sila's voice echoed behind him. "The flame shows your truth. If it finds you empty, it will burn you." Eli stepped forward. He saw flashes of pain, his childhood, the war he escaped, the people he lost, and the moment he saw Vereen about to be whipped. He didn't look away. The flame wrapped around him, burned his skin, searched his soul, and then it dimmed. Sila gasped. He passed. Back in her chamber, Vereen waited. The doors opened. Eli stepped in, alive. Barely. She ran to him, caught him before he fell. "You did it," she whispered. He smiled weakly. "Told you I'm stubborn." From a distance, Valak watched with silent pride, but he knew this was just the beginning. The palace was a place of gold and glass, but it felt like a prison. Eli had passed the trial by flame. He had proved his heart. But to the nobles, that didn't matter. They still saw him as human, unworthy, dangerous. So they locked him in a royal cage, one with no bars, but walls of energy. The floor was soft, the air scented, the food rich. But Eli knew a cage when he saw one. Vereen was taken to the upper chambers, rooms built for awakened royals. Her clothes were changed. Her skin was decorated with crystal ink. Her power was studied, her blood tested, but no one let her speak to Eli again. Each day she asked the same question. Where is he? Each day she was told the same lie. He is being honored in rest. But she knew the truth. He was alone. In the lower level of the palace, Eli paced his glowing prison. He touched the walls, solid like glass but humming like power. Guards watched him from behind tall shields. Silent, cold. He asked for books. They gave him none. He asked for Vereen. They gave him silence. Time passed strangely in the cage. There were no clocks, no sun. Just light that changed color with the hour. One night, he heard a whisper from the vent above. It was a voice. "I'm coming," it said. Then it vanished. Far away in the city's shadows, Valak prepared for war. He stood with his brothers and a dozen rebel warriors. They wore cloaks and armor hidden under old uniforms. One of them spoke. "We can't win against the palace guard." Valak answered, "We're not going to fight them." Then what? Valak looked up at the tower where Vereen was held. "We're going to break the human out." Back in her chamber, Vereen sat near the window, staring out at the stars. Her power shimmered around her fingers. The guards outside her door were strong, but they were afraid of her now. A servant entered quietly and placed a metal bowl on the table. "Anything else, my lady?" he asked. Vereen looked at him carefully, then whispered, "Bring me the oldest map you can find, of the servant tunnels." The servant blinked. "Why?" She smiled for the first time in days. "Because I'm done waiting." That night, the palace lights dimmed. It was the Festival of Balance, a time when the whole city lit candles and sent lanterns into the sky. The guards at the palace lowered their guard just slightly. Just enough. In the shadows, Valak and his rebels moved. 2 guards disappeared before they could blink. Another dropped quietly with a dart in the neck. Valak led the way. He knew the inner tunnels. He had studied them when he was a boy. They reached the holding wing, but Eli's cage was empty. Valak's eyes narrowed. They moved him. Eli now sat in a council chamber, chained to the center floor. Above him, the 12 elders looked down with cold eyes. High Priestess Sila stood. The prophecy speaks of balance, but balance must be kept. A human cannot tip our future. Another elder spoke. You will not be killed, but you will be taken to the edge worlds, far away forever. Eli didn't shout. He didn't beg. He looked up calmly and said, Do you fear me that much? The council fell silent. Just then, boom. The wall behind the elders exploded. Smoke filled the chamber. Valak charged through, blades drawn. From another door, Vereen entered, glowing like a living star. The guards raised their weapons. But one look from her made them freeze. She walked straight to Eli, and with a wave of her hand, his chains shattered. You're late, he said. She smirked. You're welcome, the council shouted. This is treason. Valak turned to them. No, this is justice. The rebels stood behind him. Workers from the lower city had risen too. The doors behind the chamber burst open. Common aliens and servants holding tools as weapons. Vereen raised her hand. I will not be your weapon, she said to the council. And he is not your enemy. She turned to the people. He is proof that kindness can break chains stronger than fear. The people bowed. And the council? They said nothing because they knew they had already lost. The city of Ralthar was on edge. Whispers of rebellion moved through the markets, the temples, even the high towers. A human had escaped the Crystal Hall. The council had been shamed. And worst of all, the princess with awakened power had stood beside him. Every eye now watched Eli. He had become a symbol, but he never wanted to be. In a quiet village near the city's edge, Eli sat alone on a broken bench. He stared at the red moon rising over the horizon. His back still ached from the lashes. His arms still sore from the chains. But his mind was heavy with something else. Regret. Valak sat beside him. The warrior prince looked tired. Why are you here? Eli asked. Valak shrugged. You're the only one not asking me to fight. Eli smiled weakly. Because I don't want a war. Valak leaned back. It's already begun. In the city center, council forces prepared for battle. Armored soldiers marched through the streets. Giant war beasts were pulled from their cages. Drones circled the skies. Every noble house was ordered to pick a side, loyalty or rebellion. But the people? The people whispered Eli's name. They shared stories. He stood in front of the whip. He faced the fire of truth and survived. He gave power back to the girl they forgot. Some began carving his name into walls. L. It was no longer a name. It was a spark. Vereen moved through the rebel camps with silent purpose. She trained every day, her power growing. Energy flowed from her hands like silver fire. She wasn't just strong, she was focused. Some called her the storm of stars. But she didn't smile when they praised her. She only asked one question. Where is he? Back in the village, Eli stood before a group of farmers, miners, and refugees. I'm not a leader, he said. I'm just someone who didn't stay silent. An old alien woman stepped forward. That's why we trust you. A miner added, We followed nobles for centuries. They gave us nothing. Eli sighed. This isn't what I wanted. The crowd grew quiet. Then the old woman spoke again. And that's why you must lead. That night the council made its move. A loudspeaker echoed across the capital. Surrender the human, or the sky will burn. And it did. Fireballs lit up the clouds. Drones dropped flash bombs on rebel zones. War beasts marched through the streets, smashing homes. But the people didn't run. They stood their ground. And at the center of it all was him. Eli stood in front of the main square, wearing only a light jacket and boots caked in dirt. No armor. No weapons. He raised his hand, and thousands behind him did the same. Farmers, healers, miners, even children. This was not an army. This was a message. Vereen landed beside him, floating down on silver light. You still don't want to fight? She asked softly. No, he said. But I will protect what I believe in. She reached for his hand. This time, he didn't pull away. The council released their strongest weapon, a monstrous war machine, taller than buildings, powered by captured starlight. It roared like 1,000 storms, but before it could strike, Virene stepped forward. She lifted her hands. Her power rose higher than ever. Light exploded from her body, pure, wild, ancient. The machine froze, then shattered. Silence fell. No one moved. Then someone dropped their weapon. Then another. Then more. And soon, the soldiers of the council were kneeling not from fear but from understanding. Later, Eli stood in the ruins of the main square. Virene leaned on his shoulder. Valak approached slowly. You didn't want war, but you ended one. Eli shook his head. I didn't end it. She did. Valak nodded. Together then, Virene looked up. It's not over. Not yet, Eli asked. What now? She said, now. They must choose. A future of fear. Or of freedom. The battlefield was quiet now. Smoke drifted gently in the morning air. The broken war machine lay in pieces, silent. Buildings around the palace were cracked and burned. But the people still stood. No one cheered. No one clapped. They only watched the human and the girl who stood beside him, Eli with his torn jacket and whip-scarred back, and Virene, glowing softly like the heart of a new star. Together, they had stopped the unstoppable. Now the entire planet waited for their next move. In the council hall, the elders sat in silence. Their chairs were cracked. Their pride was broken. The high priestess Scylla had fled in the night, her power shattered. Valak walked into the chamber, sword on his back, head held high. Behind him were workers, rebels, and former guards, and Eli. The elders looked down at him. Not with anger this time, but with something close to fear. Speak, human, one elder said. Voice shaky, Eli stepped forward. I didn't come here to rule, he said. I came here to stop a punishment that didn't feel right. You have torn apart our city, another elder said. No, Eli answered. Your cruelty did that. Virene walked forward beside him. You forgot what leadership means, she said. It's not about bloodlines. It's about choices, one elder tried to stand tall. And what do you want now? Eli looked at him quietly. I want peace, he said. I want you to stop treating people like tools. Like slaves. Like nothing, and if we refuse? The elder asked. Virene's eyes began to glow. You won't, she said. That evening the banners of war were pulled down. The chains in the labor camps were broken. The council was dissolved, their seats turned to dust by Virene's hand. A new system was born, a circle of voices with every class, every race, every world having a place. But Eli didn't stay to rule. He stood at the edge of the city, watching a line of farmers plant seeds in the cracked earth. Children laughed nearby, playing with broken helmets like toys. Valak found him there. They want you to be king, he said. Eli shook his head. I don't need a throne. I just want to go home, Valak smiled. Home is different now. Maybe you changed more than just this world. Virene joined him that night under the stars. They sat near a quiet lake, where the light shimmered like silver dust. You really won't stay? She asked. I don't belong here, Eli said softly. I'm just a man who did what he thought was right. You became a symbol, she whispered. I didn't ask to be. She looked at the stars. I used to feel invisible, even in the palace, even in my family. But when you stepped in front of that whip, I felt seen. He turned to her. And when you stood before that machine, he said, I saw something greater than power. I saw courage. They were silent for a while. Then she asked, what happens to a world that loses its heroes? Eli stood up and looked at the sky. It grows new ones, he said. The next morning, a small ship waited at the city's edge. Eli shook hands with Valak. The warrior gave him a medal made of alien steel and crystal. This is for those who fight without wanting to, Valak said. Virene approached last. She looked at him, eyes softer than ever. Will I ever see you again? Eli smiled. Stars cross for a reason, don't they? He handed her something, a simple chain, broken and rusted. It was the very same collar that once hung around her neck. She stared at it, then at him. Never again, she said, and she crushed it in her hand. As the ship rose into the sky, the people below waved. No trumpets, No fireworks, just silence, the kind that came after storms. Years later, on a distant human world, a child sat in school, reading a book. It was called The Man Who Took the Lashes, and in the final chapter, the teacher read the last line aloud. He didn't save a world by being strong. He saved it by being human.